Good evening, and welcome to the October 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Suffolk City Public School Board. This meeting is now called to order. At this time, we will stand, and Board Member Jenkins will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over here. Thank you. We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Vice Chair McGee will now read the mission of Suffolk Public Schools.
The mission of Suffolk Public Schools is to produce 21st century learners that will become productive citizens in society, foster a dynamic, safe, and nurturing learning environment, partner with school community for the benefit of students and staff, strengthen the school division by employing a highly qualified and diverse staff, effectively and efficiently manage capital and human resources, effectively communicate to increase community investment.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the agenda with the addition of adding an info item action under new business titled Capital Improvement Plan, SAO, Suffolk Administration Office.
Madam
Second.
Chair.
Second.
Okay, 1 second. We have.
Yes, I would like to add something to the agenda.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can he repeat what he said so I can get that first?
Yes. So first, Vice Chair McGee, will you please reread your suggestion?
It's going to be adding an info action item under new business, Capital Improvement Plan, Suffolk Administration Office.
Okay, adding info action item regarding our CIP, the SAO building, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the second was Board Member Slingla? No? Who was the second?
She seconded
Board
first.
Member Brittingham seconded. Second is it. Okay, now, Mr. Riddick, all for yours, and then David.
Yes, I would like to ask that the Vice Chair amend his motion to include the adding of the forensic audit to the agenda, the forensic audit RFP to the agenda for info action as well.
Okay. Before you speak, I just want to make sure both of those are they in line with our policy as last-minute additions?
They are, because neither one of them directly impacts staff or students.
Okay. Vice Chair McGee, are you willing to amend your motion to include the addition of the RFP discussion as well, Mr. Riddick? Is that correct?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I am.
Okay, so can you just do me a favor and restate it for Ms. Gardner's sake?
All right, I move to add to the agenda under new business, an info action item titled Capital Improvement Plan for the Suffolk Administration Office. Also adding under new business, an info action item regarding the forensic audit RFP.
Okay. So now I need another second for the amended motion. Second. Okay, it was seconded by Board Member Jenkins. Is there any discussion? There being none, we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slingluff?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I will yield the floor to Dr. Gordon for our reports by the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to call to the podium Mr. Melvin Bradshaw, Coordinator of Communications and Community Engagement, to discuss the good news report, which will include Colonel Fred Cherry also being named the National Beta School, Southwestern Elementary School, receiving VQ B5 Honor Roll of Excellence. Several of our students from Suffolk Public Schools being a part of the 2025 Peanut Fest Princesses, fine and performing arts performances at Peanut Fest. a citywide spotlight on Ms. Layla Kreiner from Kings Fork High School. As we know, we kicked off all district reads this week. Michael Whittington being named the IAAA State Athletic Director of the Year for Group 3. Diane Whiting receiving a 2025 Human Resources Specialist Support Staff Award. Our Star Achiever reports for the first quarter, and our bus drivers that we will celebrate under the leadership of Mr. Privet, who've had perfect attendance for August and September, and then I will close out with the calendar of special events. Mr. Bradshaw?
And do that again. Good evening, Madam Chair Howell, Vice Chair McGee, school board members, and Dr. Gordon. Tonight we recognize yet another school for receiving the National Beta School of Distinction recognition. Last meeting, we shared that Forest Glen Middle School had been named a 2024-25 National Beta School of Distinction. Joining Forest Glen Middle School is Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School, also a 2024-25 National Beta School of Distinction. This honor is awarded to schools that demonstrate a strong commitment to academic achievement, exemplary character, leadership development, and service learning. The recognition reflects a school-wide culture of excellence where students are encouraged to take initiative, act with integrity, and contribute positively to their school and community. We thank Ms. Sarah Gandel for her commitment and hard work in helping to shape the next generation of engaged citizens and leaders. At this time, will Ms. Gandel please come to the podium to be recognized? You can come back down here, Ms. Gandel. She's eager. Yeah. Well, I still got a little ways to come back. Sorry. We're proud to announce that all SPS elementary schools have successfully met Virginia's quality expectations for early childhood programs for the 2024-25 school year. This recognition reflects the division's continued commitment to providing young learners with strong foundations in academic, social, and emotional development. Among these achievements, Southwestern Elementary School earned a special distinction for exceeding the state's quality expectations and was named to the Virginia Quality Birth to Five Honor Roll of Excellence, a recognition reserved for programs demonstrating the highest levels of quality across the Commonwealth. We congratulate all of our elementary staff and administrators on a job well done. Congratulations to the 2025 Peanut Fest princesses, including our very own Demetra Burden and Tandaway Schmidt, representing Nansemond River High School. Mia Melendez and Kentara Watkins, representing Lakeland High School, and Layla Kreiner, representing Kings Fork High School. With pride and grace, each princess served as an ambassador during this year's Suffolk Peanut Fest, continuing the long tradition of student leadership and community involvement. We're so proud of their achievements. And tonight we have one of our princesses who was actually one of my sixth graders at Forest Glen Middle School, who is now a senior at Lakeland High School, Ms. Mia Melendez. Please come to the podium at this time. Over 450 student musicians from across Suffolk Public Schools took the stage at the 2025 Suffolk Peanut Festival, showcasing their hard work and artistry in band, chorus, and orchestra performances. In addition, the SPS Visual Arts tents featured more than 400 works of art from every SPS school, a vibrant display of creativity and imagination from our young artists. Their dedication, teamwork, and passion for the arts truly shine for the entire community to enjoy. A huge thank you to our fine and performing arts teachers, staff, and families for supporting and celebrating the arts in our schools. Layla Kreiner, a senior at Kings Fork High School and one of our Peanut Fest princesses, proudly represented NASA's Eclipse program as a National Institute of Aerospace Student STEM ambassador during the first Science Citywide event themed Universal to the Stars, Science Resources, and Inclusive Strategies. She gave a presentation on NASA Eclipse, an innovative online platform that provides free, high-quality STEM resources, including posters, videos, interactive activities, and virtual labs. As one of a select group of high school students chosen nationwide for this prestigious role, Layla highlighted how NASA Eclipse inspires curiosity, promotes inclusive science learning, and strengthens connections between schools, families, and the broader STEM community. Tonight, we spotlight her exceptional leadership, passion for STEM education, and dedication to inspiring the next generation of explorers and innovators. Through her work, Layla exemplifies how curiosity and commitment can open doors to boundless opportunities. Thank you, Layla, for your contributions and all that you have done for this program. Okay. Backtrack just a little bit. We have one more Peanut Fest princess, Kentara Watkins from Lakeland High School. Would you come up? We are excited to announce the return of our division-wide literacy initiative, All Suffolk Reads. In partnership with All District Reads, this year's featured book is Friendship According to Humphrey by Betty G. Burney. Beginning on October 20th, 2025, every pre-K through fifth grade student across Suffolk Public Schools received their very own copy of Friendship According to Humphrey, along with a family reading guide. The program will run through November 10th, encouraging families to read along together at home and engage in daily discussions and reflections based on the guide. At school, students will participate in a variety of book-related activities, including chapter trivia questions, classroom conversations, and creative learning opportunities designed to make reading fun and interactive. We invite all families to join in the fun and follow along with the reading schedule. Together, the division will celebrate the power of stories one chapter at a time. Suffolk Public Schools proudly celebrates Michael Whittington, who has been named the Virginia Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association State Athletic Director of the Year. This prestigious honor recognizes outstanding leadership, professional excellence, and significant contributions to interscholastic athletics across the Commonwealth of Virginia. Whittington's commitment to student athletes, coaches, and the broader school community has been evident throughout his career. Under his leadership, athletic programs have flourished, emphasizing sportsmanship, teamwork, and academic success both on and off the field. We are excited for the amazing things he will bring to Lakeland High School and congratulate Mr. Whittington for this well-deserved recognition. Would you please come forward to be recognized, Mr. Whittington? We are also proud to announce that Diane Whiting has been recognized with the 2025 Human Resources Specialist Support Staff Award from the American Association of School Personnel Administrators. This prestigious national honor celebrates individuals who demonstrate exceptional professionalism, dedication, and service in the field of school human resources. Ms. Whiting's commitment to excellence and her unwavering support of SPS employees have made her a cornerstone of the district's human resources operation. Throughout her tenure with Suffolk Public Schools, she has exemplified integrity, compassion, and attention to detail, qualities that have earned her the respect and admiration of colleagues across the division. We congratulate Ms. Whiting on this outstanding accomplishment and thank her for her continued dedication to advancing excellence in public education through exceptional human resources leadership. Congratulations to all the individuals who were submitted as star achievers by their community and colleagues. Each honoree represents the very best of Suffolk Public Schools, demonstrating excellence, dedication, and a commitment to making a difference in the lives of students and staff every day. Their hard work, positive attitude, and unwavering service embody the true spirit of our division's mission to ensure that excellence is realized in every classroom, department, and schools across the district. Congratulations to the star achievers. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Privet to come up to the podium. He is our Director of Transportation for a special recognition of perfect attendance for our SPS bus drivers and bus aides. Mr. Privet.
Has to be careful every day.
Good evening, Board Chair Howell, Vice Chair McGee, board members, and Dr. Gordon. I stand before you tonight to recognize the bus driver that had perfect attendance for the month of August and September. This is just the glue that keeps us together, because if we made this list every month, 95% of these people will be up there every month. So, bus drivers, when I call your name, will you please come forward? Regina Darden, Shauna Delp, Mary Giles, Keisha Graves, Artasia Hayes, Carolyn Holloman, Teresa Johnson, Lorraine Moody, Faye Olden, Shannon Tupakaleki, Jaden Williams, Jamisa Wilson, Carrie Otis, Nikki Blair, Derek Blow, Christine Bradshaw, Mary Brown Rolack, Addie Bull, James Butts, Edward Carr, Natalie Chapman, Nanette Chapman, Rachel Copeland, Priscilla Cross, Ebony Dancy, Ciara Davis, Joy Dorr, Tammy Epps, Mary Ann Fosnot, Sheila Garner Brown, Teresa Gary, Jamal Gibson, Yvonne Holliday, William Horner, Colleen Johnson, Joanne Johnson, Bernard Jones, Hope Jones, Lesmore Jones, Lizzie Jones, Bridget Jordan, Michael Lashbrook, Carolyn Liggins, Pamela McCoy, Barbara Miskins, Michelle Warren, Alexis Osborne, Deborah Radford, Mary Rogers, Tammy Shepard, Tony Smith, Sandra Snell, Michelle Woods, and Stephanie Odom. Thank you so much for giving me this time. And if anybody didn't come up, I will be outside to give you certificates, okay?
Mr. Privet, quick question. How many total bus drivers did we have for perfect attendance for August and September? Do you know that number?
I don't, but I can give it to you in, looks like about 57.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank y'all.
It's on me, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for assisting Mr. Bradshaw and Ms. Privet to our 57 bus drivers. Thank you for coming to work every day, and that also includes covering the routes of some of your colleagues who might be out either in the morning or the afternoon, or sometimes both routes. For our calendar of special events, as we had spoken about previously, this month of October is several things: disability awareness, bullying prevention, principles appreciation, arts and humanities, breast cancer awareness, which is part of the reason why you see several of the people up here on stage wearing pink for today. National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, National School Bus Safety Week. Thank you, Mr. Privet, for all that you do and the rest of our transportation department to get our kids home and to school safely and on time. It's also National Red Ribbon Week, which ends on the 31st. Tomorrow is our official Pink Out Day for breast cancer awareness, so we're asking for everyone in the school division tomorrow on Friday to wear your pink, which is also the end of our first 9 weeks grading period. On Monday, the 27th, our second grading period begins. The 28th is National First Responders Day. As we transition into the month of November is Native American Heritage Month, also Military Family Appreciation Month, and College Application Month. That's a new one, College Application Month. On November 2nd, Daylight Savings, fall back. November 2nd, fall back. Please adjust your clocks. National School Psychology Week is the 3rd through the 7th. Virtual Clerical Day for teachers, no school for students on November 4th, which is also Election Day. Veterans Day observance will be no school for students and staff. That is on November 11th. And our next school board meeting, our only monthly meeting for the month of November, will be November 13th at 5 p.m. at City Hall. Madam Chair, that is the calendar of special events.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Next on our agenda will be public speakers on agenda topics. Public speakers in general. I apologize. I'm going to yield the floor to Ms. Gardner.
It is the intent of the school board to ensure that the affairs of the board be conducted in an open and orderly manner, that all persons desiring to address the board are afforded an opportunity to do so in the order in which they sign up to speak, that persons in attendance may observe and hear the proceedings of the board without distraction, and that the members of the board and board employees are able to transact the business of the board with minimal disruption. Any persons addressing the board shall, 1, confine their comments to matters germane to services, policies, and affairs of the school board and Suffolk Public Schools. 2, refrain from words or statements which, from their usual construction and common acceptance, are construed as insults and tend to incite violence or breach of the peace. 3, refrain from obscenity, vulgarity, or other breach of respect. 4, comply with the time limit for public comment as set by the board, which can be up to 5 minutes, unless the board, through the exercise of its discretion, decides to allow less than 5 minutes for public comment. 5, refrain from cumulative or repetitive remarks. And 6, refrain from making any comment regarding any pending student discipline or employee grievance matters. The appropriate form for such matters is the applicable administrative hearing provided by state law or, where appropriate, court proceeding. Persons must not engage in disorderly, disruptive, or boisterous conduct such as, but not limited to, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling, or similar demonstrations that interrupts or disturbs the peace and good order of the meeting. Persons addressing the board may deliver to the board or its clerk written materials including reports, statements, exhibits, letters, or signed petitions, and may also make use of any chart or graph during their verbal presentation. The school board welcomes comments from the public as appropriate. Board members will listen to public comment but will not comment, deliberate, or take action on them. The school board chair may direct the superintendent to investigate items and report back to the school board at a subsequent meeting. The chair or other presiding officer shall preserve decorum and shall decide all questions of public order, subject to appeal to the board. At the request of the chair, a city police officer shall act as sergeant-at-arms at tonight's board meeting. That officer shall, under the direction of the chair or other presiding officer, have charge of the meeting area, the waiting areas and corridors adjacent thereto, and shall prevent disorder or interruption of the business of the board. Our first speaker is Ms. Janet McKinney regarding FOIA request.
Good evening. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Limited and small government was the forefront of the establishment of America. In Virginia, we are home to the first permanent settlement. We have the oldest continuous state legislature in the U.S. going all the way back to the House of Burgesses, and we are home of the decisive battle that ended the Revolutionary War, the Battle of Yorktown. Our motto, Sic Semper Tyrannis, thus to tyrants, is the very heart of limited government. As Americans, it is in our DNA to question our government. Our nation was founded on a distrust of government. The colonists believed they were being unjustly taxed by an oppressive and arbitrary king. Our founding fathers emphasized a government that derived its powers from the governed. This ideal was strong enough to lead to the creation of the Bill of Rights to enshrine our individual liberties against government overreach. The power of our government has always resided with the people. The Freedom of Information Act was signed into law in 1966 by President Johnson. The purpose was to restore transparency in government. So it's a real shame that Suffolk Public Schools seems to be affronted by its FOIA request. Responses seem to come at the last minute. It is the adversarial posture of Suffolk Public Schools that makes citizens distrustful. Remember, it is in our American DNA to question our government. On September 30th, I submitted a FOIA request for all the forms for public speakers from September 2023 to September of 2025. The 5-day response deadline was October 7th. I got my reply at 4:58 on October 7th. Wasn't a reply to the request. It was to ask me, did I want an estimate of cost in advance? So I replied yes. And I finally received that about a week later for $673.40. I then asked for an itemized cost breakdown, and what I received was 13 hours at a cost of $48.10 per hour. That math doesn't add up because that's $625.30, the difference being $48.10. So I've been charged an extra hour. The one is actually on the cost breakdown. Curiously, the estimate includes 8 hours of scanning documents that should already be saved on a computer. These are the forms that the speakers submit. If we're sending them by email, why are we then turning around and scanning those? I would hope that Suffolk Public Schools has Adobe. Adobe will combine all of your files and redact all of your files, and you never have to print a single page. There's also 5 hours to compile the response. It seems a simple search through the email, search email for attachments to find those forms, doesn't take 5 hours. And it didn't take me 13 hours to read the agendas from September of 2023 to September of 2025. and find out that there were 164 speakers. $673.40 feels punitive. I am reviewing my request to try to narrow it so that it doesn't cost me as much as it cost me to feed my family for 4 days. In the meantime, I would request the board revise the cost to 5 hours at $48.10, or a total of $240.50. Thank you.
There are no other speakers.
Thank you. We move on to unfinished business next on our agenda, and I will call your attention. There are 10 ordinances to be reviewed under unfinished business, all of which were available to us at our last meeting. So I would ask a couple of things, if you all want to entertain all of them at once, and if not, if you want to pull specific ordinances out, what is the will of the board at this time?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to pull out ordinance 2526-41.
Number 10. Okay. So just to confirm, that's number 10?
Yes, ma'am, it's number 10.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay.
Yes. Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would like to pull out ordinance 25/26-40.
Okay, so number 9.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? All right, is there a motion to handle ordinance numbers 1 through 8?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move that we approve ordinances 1 through 8, and we remove ordinance number 9 and number 10 under new unfinished business.
Okay. Do you need me to repeat that?
Sure.
Okay.
I move that we approve ordinances 1 through 8, and that we remove 9 and 10 for discussion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, so the motion was seconded by Board Member Slingloff. Is there discussion about that motion? There being none, we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slingloff?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to tackle them in order. So moving on to number 9, ordinance 25/26-40. I would just ask Mr. Riddick to speak to that since you requested to discuss it separately.
Yes. So I had a question regarding this one here. I just wanted to know if it would be possible if we could send this back to the Policy Review Committee so they can put in a provision in the event that both the chair and vice chair are charged for violation of a norm and protocol, because currently there's nothing that addressed that in the event that one alleges that they both were to be charged in, say, in the same act or something for violating the norms and protocols. I don't know if, one would step back and take the other or not, but I would suggest that the Policy Review Committee look at having that done. That's something that was almost done in my tenure as chair, and I don't think it's out of the scope going forward, even dealing with future boards, that we want to have that caveat in place just in case.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have no problem supporting that, going back to policy review.
Okay. So the request, the suggestion, there's not a motion yet, there's a suggestion for Mr. Riddick is that this be sent back to PRC to address the instance if, just to be clear, both the chair and vice chair are involved in the claim of a violation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so we've heard from Vice Chair McGee that he supports it. Anyone else on the PRC want to speak to that at the moment?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to move that we go ahead and approve this policy as is, like we've done in past, and then send it to the policy review for the addition of this additional statement.
Okay, so that's a motion then. You want to move to approve it this evening, but also send it back to PRC for further review, correct?
That's correct.
Second.
Okay. So that motion has been made to move to approve it, but send it back to PRC. It's been seconded by Board Member Brittingham. So we have that motion on the floor now. Is there discussion about that? Do you have discussion, Mr. Riddick?
Not about this. I'm unsure, Attorney Waller, if what I want to say will be in line with this or not. I kind of want us to really streamline the process in which we receive complaints. There are sometimes, persons can be in their emotions and things can be derived from it, but there really needs to be like an official trail of when the complaint was received, a documentation of the investigation, just as when we hear students' disciplinary actions or staff disciplinary actions. It's not just a recollection of, I called, I had this discussion. It is a formal documentation, because as I have watched these norms and protocols be weaponized and misused and selectively imposed, there's little to no paper trail as into what this one did that was a yes, a violation, versus what this one did, which is similar, is a no. Or how did you handle, or what caused you to do X, Y, Z? That information is lost. All we have is a letter of reprimand or a conversation, but there's nothing that really guide us to how it got there. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? I'm trying to teeter with not isolating incidents, but I just want us to be able to go back and see the thought pattern that went in from the chair or vice chair as into how they made their determination if it was a violation. Because that way, in the event of an appeal, the person who is being charged have something that they can, well, you said you went this way here. They have something that they can refute versus he said, she said.
Okay, if I may, Attorney Waller, do you have any input or feedback as to how you see further clarity being brought to this policy regarding Mr. Riddick's request and discussion?
It sounds to me as though it's more an issue of implementation versus the actual language of the policy. I'm not sure that what Board Member Riddick has made reference to needs to be in the actual policy itself, as maybe there needs to be some sort of guidance on how the process is conducted, how it's carried out. So that's how I view what he just indicated. To me, it sounded more like implementation of it rather than changing the policy itself, because the policy right now requires that there be a notice. Now, how formal that notice will be could be in some guidelines that the board develops outside of the policy itself.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Riddick.
Madam Chair, it's my request that it be policy, because as being on this board going on 8 years, I have watched implementation dance back and forth, and implementation is selective based on who is being charged. For an example, if it's me, I may get a written letter. If it's someone that's not me, who is friends or counterparts, whatever, they may just have a conversation and it can be said a notice is done. Having it a part of policy, it holds everyone's feet to the fire despite who is chair and what year. And that's, in my opinion, and being quite frank, I believe that's why we have some of our unforeseeable challenges, because we have too much ambiguity in certain policies. And I say in norms and protocols, there needs to be as little to no ambiguity as possible. This is how you handle X, Y, Z. This is what you need to do, because we're not going to hold these positions forever. There's going to be a new board, and some of us who are providing counsel may not be here. I'm looking down the road for the board that's coming behind me, and I want to make sure that I hand them something that they can pick up the torch and run with. So I would ask Board Member Brittingham and Board Member Slinglove, if they would consider amending the motion to approve this, refer it back to the Policy Review Committee to address if both the chair and vice chair are charged, but to also come up with guidelines of how a violation is to be handled and submitted to the board.
May I ask another question, Attorney Waller? Your point is you don't think it's appropriate to put it in policy. If there are guidelines laid out, where would those be located? As he suggested for future board members, would they be somehow linked in a policy? Or how would someone locate and reference guidelines if that's the path the PRC chooses?
If there are guidelines, they will be voted on by the board. They would be embedded in your minutes of your meeting. And any board member could actually refer back to those.
Okay.
So that's where they would be.
Okay.
You don't have a separate body of information that is called guidelines or regulations or anything like that. All you have to govern your actions are your policies.
Understood. Okay, so just to review, the motion on the floor is to approve it this evening, send it back to PRC for further review to consider either adding guidelines or more specificity to the process itself. Would you say that that's your motion and that's interpreted correctly, Mr. Riddick and Ms. Slinglove?
That's what I would like to see happen. Now, whether Board Member Slinglove would amend her motion or not.
So my motion was to approve it as is and send it back to the PRC. What I would like, I don't think my motion needs to change if we're going to send it back to PRC. My thought process is that if Mr. Riddick would like to put some things down, or he's verbalized it as is now to the policy review, it's going to go to Attorney Waller. Attorney Waller can take a stab at what Mr. Riddick is requesting, and then that will come to the PRC, everything he's mentioned. I don't know that there's anything to change in the motion.
Okay, understood.
Madam Chair, may I?
Sure.
I would like to, I have no problem supporting Mr. Riddick, sending it back to PRC, coming up with a solution to add to policy, but I guess my question would be, if we approve it tonight as is, I feel like tonight that would give us, as a board, more coverage than what's in place right now, just because the vice chair, there's nothing right now to cover the chair if there is a allegation or offense brought against them. I would just like to hear from him if there's any heartache with approving and sending it back to PRC.
Okay.
Does he think that would be fruitful?
Before I bounce back to Mr. Riddick, Board Member Brittingham
Thank you.
lit her mic.
I was just going to suggest that since this is going to go back to policy review, that a board member Riddick might want to write an email specifically as to what he's looking for, and that way not trying to reference back to the meeting, but have it come directly from you exactly what you're looking for PRC to put in place. And that way we're not making any mistakes as to what you're asking for.
Mr. Riddick?
So I'm going to take a shot at both. Directly regarding Board Member Brittingham's recommendation, that's why I asked to have it in a motion, because there are times when you can send things to PRC and people can morph it to what they want it to be. For those who've been on the board for a while, you remember when we sent visiting the schools to PRC, and it was transformed into something that we didn't ask. And that was because it was requested. But when the board makes a directive, it's more concrete. I understand the difference between guidelines and policy, but guidelines are exactly what they are, guidelines. If you don't follow the guidelines, of which we have guidelines in place now that we don't follow, if we have guidelines, you really don't have as much of a concrete leg to stand on as you do with policy. So one thing that is consistent about my approach, I like to make sure that we are tied down with policy. I don't like remedies such as guidelines or agreements and how we're going to do, because people don't always hold up to what they say. But when it's in policy, I have something concrete that I can take a stand on that will carry more weight than a guideline, which is, in my opinion, sometimes can be fluid. Regarding Vice Chair McGee's question, I have no problem approving this as it is, just from past experience, making sure that we have everything lined up to protect this board so we can do things, because once upon a time, there was no instances where the chair was being charged. But we're in a time now where it's not as smooth as it used to be on the board, where everybody went out to George's and had their food and kept moving. We're not in that time now. We're in a time where we are trying to bring some peace to the troubled waters, and I believe we're going to get there. But to make sure we have some pathways in place in the event something happens. So I'm ready to move forward and vote on the motion as is. Board Member Slingloff, I would ask that you consider that you amend your motion to include the two items I've mentioned, such as in the event both chair and vice chair are charged, how we will handle that in the event, not in the event, but the process for handling an investigation and the reporting, and have that go to the policy review. So that way it's an action item from the board and not just a request from one board member.
I believe that points to Board Member Slingloff to respond.
Madam Chair, I'm still comfortable with my motion as it stands. If the board wills to vote that down and someone wants to put forth another motion, then I'm good with that. I agree with Dr. Brittingham in requesting that Mr. Riddick spell it out and send it to Attorney Waller. Attorney Waller then will craft an addition to this policy and present it to the policy review, and we'll do as we've always done.
Okay, is there any further discussion about this motion? Board Member Jenkins.
Yes, I just like to say from just previous experience, we need to have something in policy, not guidelines, because it was just proven through our last board meeting that a board member can violate what we're supposed to be doing, and it can be called a gray area. But in policy, if you read it, which I had our attorney read it at our policy review meeting, that it was a violation. So we need to make sure that everything is policy, so this person can't say it's a gray area for this, and then another person will get, like you said, a letter or get written up or something. So I prefer that particular things also be in policy so we're all treated the same. That's all. We just all want to be treated the same.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, there being none, you have the motion, Ms. Gardner? Okay, so we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
No.
Board Member Riddick?
No.
Board Member Slingloff?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to number 10, ordinance 25/26-41. We'll ask Board Member Brittingham to speak to this since you requested to pull it out separately.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to the board and the community about this specific policy. Tonight's vote concerns limiting board member comment time at the end of each meeting to 5 minutes, which is a good way to make the comment time for both citizens and board members evenly set. However, this policy is before the board tonight. I would like to take the opportunity to ask the board to think about instituting Robert's Rules of Order for small boards. Our current informal rules lack many of the established parliamentary standards followed by most of our local and national governing bodies. And so as a governing body, we should consider establishing the Robert's Rules for small boards in order for that framework to help us to govern moving forward. And I was hoping that it might be something that we would consider doing coming January. And implementing this change would promote more consistency, transparency, and fairness, ensuring that all board actions are governed by balance and time-tested standards. In recent weeks, I've done a lot of research on this, considering in coming up to tonight's meeting to talk about this governance. And tonight, I ask that the board to consider this governance change in a more in-depth discussion, hopefully, to occur at an upcoming meeting. So after tonight's meeting, I will follow up with additional information in an email to all the board members of what I've researched and allow you to read for yourself what I've seen. And that way, you know, hopefully in the next board meeting that we have, we can come together as a board and discuss this possibility moving forward, because I think that it just puts the board in a stronger governance position if we are working inside the same framework that everyone in the Commonwealth and most of the United States uses when small boards get together to govern. So thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time.
Okay, so in regard to item number 10, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a question before. I would like to ask before we have a motion.
Sure.
Okay. So my question that I would like to ask regarding this limits was two questions. First question is, how did this come about, putting a time limit on board members?
I would have to defer to Board Member Slingluff and Attorney Waller how it came up in policy review. I don't recall directly requesting that. I just recall speaking with the attorney about possible ways to facilitate more efficient, less emotional meetings. Board Member Slingluff, how did this come up in PRC?
Yeah, I'm going to have to defer to Attorney Waller because this was presented to us, and I'm not sure where it originated in all sincerity. I don't believe that the Policy Review Committee, if I recall correctly, asked for that.
I think we may have a little selective memory here, because there was a time where it was asked that the board members only speak for 5 minutes. And then the concern was raised that it was not in policy. And so for that reason, that's how it came to the Policy Review Committee.
Okay, so for clarity, may I ask, was I the one that spoke about the concern that it wasn't in policy?
No.
Okay.
No, you did not speak about it not being in
Because
policy.
if there's somewhere in this confusion that I should own, I would like to know that and own it.
Yeah, I think that what happened was, at a board meeting, you had indicated that the board members would only have 5 minutes to speak.
Correct. I spoke with you about that in
Correct.
advance.
That's correct. And I indicated to you that I thought you had the authority to do that because you're in control of the meeting.
Okay.
And then on the heels of that, a board member raised concerns about that not being in policy.
Okay.
And
I
that's-
understand.
And so that started the ball rolling. But it all began with the comment being made to the board members that they would only have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Does that answer your question, Mr. Riddick?
That answered the first question, but listening to you, the rationale as to why we wanted it wasn't that the comments were too long. It was that the comments were emotional and to keep peace. I don't see why we would put a time limit when it wasn't the length of time that was the issue. It was the comments that was the issue. And from my observation, the comments were being issued because there was disparities from the chair in regards to how board members were being perceived to be treated. One could say certain things and it was viewed as offensive to other board members, and they would respond and they would be chastised or chided, and then it would be okay for one and not okay for the other. And that's where the trend of hot comments for the 2025 school year came into play. Where my concern is, if we're trying to align this with the guidelines of the public comment, then we should have the language of the public comment, because that's where it gives the latitude. If the meeting is running long, the board would have the decision. The board would have the decision, because I will be transparent. I disagree with Attorney Waller's opinion as far as board member comments, because it's the board meeting and the board has the right to overturn anything that the chair or vice chair say, but it's the will of the board, because the chair and vice chair are operating with delegated authority, not inherited, but delegated, has been granted to them by the board. So when this was implemented, there was no conversation. When I did it, I called the board members prior to make sure it was okay, because we were having lengthy meetings and we was trying to get back. But most of our time that we spend at our meetings, if you look at it, it's not the business by board members. It's usually the reports and sometimes the discussion. So let me get back to my question that I had written down. Is this going to be a fixed item on the agenda? Because as you know, comments or business by board members is not always listed. For an example, it's not listed today on our agenda. So going forward, is this going to be a fixed item on the agenda? Because if I only have 5 minutes to speak about what I do in the public, 5 minutes is not adequate enough to cover all of the work that I do as a school board member in the public at one meeting. When the citizens have 10 minutes, they can sign up for agenda speaker, they can sign up for a non-agenda speaker. Then they can also come back at the second meeting and still sign up as well. And then I'm limited to 5, and staff can take 20 to 30 minutes on reports, and board chairs have the right to, add their comments throughout the agenda, and then members are only given a cap of 5 minutes.
If I may, before I ask for the attorney's additional feedback, if he has any, as I said earlier, I asked the attorney not just to keep emotions in check. I said for efficiency and to help streamline and focus your comments. If you get 5 minutes versus unlimited, you're more likely to hit the most hot, important pieces than how you feel about life. So when I spoke with the attorney, I didn't ask to make it policy. I said, for the remainder of this year, am I allowed to give us 5 minutes for board business, for efficiency, and to help with emotional regulation? He referred to the chair is tasked with facilitating, organizing, maintaining decorum, and that was yes. So I don't want to assume, but it sounds like from the feedback, someone on this board didn't like that and asked how that can be if it's not in policy. So this whole policy and it being fixated and all that was derived from whoever made that comment. My intent was for this year, to get through this year. This was a goal for me. And so the fact that it's before us tonight is a bit ironic, because I didn't make that request. I didn't intend for it to be long-term, and definitely, some change that I could forevermore stamp on our policy. My intent was to get through this year. So if you're not comfortable with it being in policy, I might reflect on how it came to be here.
I mean, I don't need to reflect on anything. What I'm asking, that's why the comments got charged. That's why board member comments got aggressive, because board members have a passive aggression that they selectively utilize. And then when it's reciprocated, people get hurt feelings and emotionally charged. What I'm asking is this going to be in a fixed item on the agenda? And do we think, and the reason why I suggested that is because 5 minutes may not be enough time for board members to dive into all the detail when staff is given more than 20 minutes, when the public have an opportunity to speak at least 10 minutes, and to have a board member held to 5, it doesn't seem efficient. We didn't have an issue where board members was running over with time. So this didn't come up because of a time issue. This came up because people didn't like what was being said, and it was viewed as the comments were not efficient based off of your statement and how it got to the attorney. This is not about board members taking too long.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, sir.
So I was at the PRC meeting when this was brought up, and for everyone listening and watching it, it's a recorded meeting. There are minutes, and I don't want to misspeak, but I believe that PRC, we received a suggestion from Board Member Riddick about board members being able to take their 5 minutes and transferring them to other board members. Like, if you only speak for 2 minutes, you can give your 3 minutes to another board member. That was the discussion in PRC. And the reason why that was not adopted at PRC to be placed in policy was efficiency. You know, a lot of our board meetings, they go late. It costs money to keep staff working. I totally agree with Mr. Riddick. You know, we should be able to speak to the public, but when you look at our meetings right now, and there's 7 of us, that's a lot of extra time at night, you know, if we go past 5 minutes per board member. I know there was a concern about what erupted at a meeting, about a month ago, when you went over your time and it not being in policy. That's why we're here right now.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
that's not why we're here. We're here because the chair did not like the comments that was spoken by Board Member Fields and Board Member Jenkins. Prior to that, there was no time limit. Board Member Slingloff made a comment that the 2 board members didn't agree with. They addressed it at a meeting, in a subsequent meeting, and then out of thin air, there was a 5-minute time constraint with no communication via telephone call. Hey, we want to be efficient. We want to be, people say these things, but I'm a person, I watch your action. It doesn't line up. So if we want to be efficient, then we have to be, it starts with what we say and how we say to one another, because that's what derived the friction. And that's, and the way this was forced on us, and the click, and people trying to control the board from the viewing area, and along with some other things. And I said, you can read the editorial, I said why I did what I did. And I took ownership for it. But let's be honest, that's not why we're here. And that's why I was mentioning earlier, to make sure that there's some consistency and policy, because the ambiguity is is another reason why we're here. It wasn't because I kept talking. That wasn't it. It was because comments were made by Board Member Fields and Board Member Jenkins regarding Board Member Slingloff comments, of which they took offense to, and it was followed up at a subsequent meeting, of which I believe I wasn't at, and the chair didn't like it. And then we got these 5 minutes.
I appreciate your perspective, Mr. Riddick. I understand that that is your perspective. I'm not going to beat a dead horse and further explain to you other conversations that occurred. You're not entirely informed about how long ago I asked and discussed possibly doing this. It was an indirect response to anything anyone said or anybody being out of order or anything. I will just simply say that your perspective is your own, but it is not accurate from what I was thinking and feeling as planning. So we have this ordinance here.
Madam Chair.
Board Member Slingloff.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Vice Chair McGee, because he jogged my memory, and I went back. There is an email dated September 5th from Mr. Riddick to the policy review, requesting several policy changes, and one being for this policy right here. And it states, he asked the PRC to consider whether time limits imposed on board members should be paused while staff are responding to questions or comments. During the business by board members portion of the meeting, members should be allowed to yield their time to another member. Furthermore, if we're placing time limits on board members, I ask that it be placed on everyone throughout the meeting, including additional comments made by the chair and staff. This was what caused this policy change to come forward. When it first came to the policy review committee, I went back. The first policy that was brought to us in September did have the yielding additionally in there, put in there yielding our board minutes to some other board member. That was in there, the policy review struck that down and left the rest of it, the remaining, the way it is. So that is how we ended up with this. It is, in fact, from this origination of this email.
Okay, Mr. Riddick, before you speak again, I'd like to give everyone else an opportunity that has not had a chance to speak to this ordinance. Is there anyone else? No? No? Okay, Mr. Riddick, I would say one final comment, and then we need a motion on the floor.
Okay, this is my final comment. Board Member Celine Love's recollection is not accurate. My response was it's in an email, but it's a response to a email. I wouldn't send out a policy email telling you that this should be included also if I didn't receive something that gave me a narrative of what should be changed. So it was a follow-up of what you read. So if you don't have the full scope, I understand you may not find it in your email at the moment. However, that was not the originating. My email was a follow-up to, because if you're going to limit the time of board members, then and if we're talking about to be efficient, we just had a presentation where persons went on and on. And if we're talking about being efficient and to save money for our staff time, consider that also when we put our staff for audits and other reports and things of that sort. Those things do come with financial applications as well. Madam Chair, I'm ready to move forward and vote that we deny this proposed ordinance amendment to, where is that? Ordinance 25/26-41.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, you want to deny the policy that's before us, correct?
Madam Chair.
The addition, the amendment.
Madam Chair, as a matter of fact, I thank you for that opportunity to recall and thank. I move to send this back to Policy Review Committee for further deliberation so they can look through it again. So basically, the revision will not be added. It will go back to Policy Review Committee, and they can consider some of the things that was discussed here tonight.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, is there discussion on that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. May I?
Yes.
I guess my concern is, what does this look like? So we're talking 7 board members, time limit 5 minutes, 35 minutes. If we say, hey, we're not going to have any time limit, essentially I can stand up here and during my board member comments and go 5 hours. So what's a reasonable amount of time that we can work with in the Policy Review Committee that you think a board member should have to address the public?
Can I ask the attorney a question before that is pushed further? Attorney Waller, there's nothing in policy right now that determines minutes. So as it stands, it's still the duty of the chair to help structure, facilitate, decorum, and such. So if this is turned down or sent back to PRC and nothing is agreed upon, it's still in the chair's purview through December to limit 5 minutes for the remaining meetings, correct?
That has been my opinion in the past, and that's my opinion tonight.
Okay.
That the chair has the authority under your current policy to set order and decorum of the meeting. Order of the meeting. So however the chair chooses to do that is within the power of the chair to do it. Now, addressing something that was said earlier is true, and that is that the board could always take a vote to reverse any decision made by the chair. So if the chair should say at the board meeting, the minutes are going to be 5 minutes, and members of the board does not agree with that, all you need to do is make a motion to reverse the ruling of the chair, because the ultimate authority is in the body, but the chair does have certain authority that the chair can exercise.
Okay, I just wanted clarity on that because Vice Chair McGee is asking what a reasonable time amount is. And I think the question at hand is, do we approve this amendment to that policy or not? And if we want to send it back to the PRC, with what further investigation is my question. If we send it back to you all, what are you supposed to talk about next? That's my question. So, Mr. Riddick, your motion is to, you said send it back to PRC for further discussion. Board Member Jenkins seconded it. Is there any further discussion about that before we vote?
Madam Chair, did you want me to answer Vice Chair McGee's question, or I can do that at a later time for efficiency? That's fine with me.
You can answer it.
We'll talk later. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're ready to vote? It seems, yes.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We're moving on to new business. The first item is payment of bills and payroll for September 2025. Is there a motion regarding the bills and payroll?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Board Member Jenkins and seconded by Board Member Fields to approve the bills and payroll. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I had a couple of questions regarding
Sure.
this month's bills and payroll, if you give me 1 second. All right, I had a question regarding page 1. I think it's E3 Diagnostics. It was missing a description on the very first page of the attachment.
Okay, so it's about 10 items down?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Price for $1,920.
Okay.
My question is, what was this charge for?
Madam Chair, Ms. Forsman could not be here today, so I'll have to get back to Mr. McGee on that question. I do know that our E3 is usually related to our high school enlistment enrollment and education, but I'm not sure if that's the same acronym, so I'll have to get back to you on that.
Appreciate it, sir. Madam Chair, I had a couple of additional ones. On page 2, there were 2 charges, one for lead in drinking water sampling of various locations, and then another one for asbestos. I want to ask the superintendent, are these normal procedures in testing, or did something cause these tests to occur?
Yeah, we have to have our routine checks by marine chemists for all of our lead in drinking water. They are on a repetitive cycle. And same thing for asbestos. That more than likely dealt with our work that we were doing at the Innovation Center as a part of that remodeling.
Thank you, sir. And if we go to page 3, under the company's Taylor Enterprises, there are 2 charges, one for $60,687 and one right under it for the same amount. One says painting and preparing metal roofing poles and bus canopy. The other one says preparing and painting.
Yeah, I'll have to ask her about that one. Usually, that more than likely is 2 separate schools, so I have to get back to you on that one as well.
Okay. Then I had one more question. Let me see. This is page 1 on the bills list. Let me see here.
Can you tell us what slide it is?
Yeah.
I do have an answer on your last question, Mr. McGee. That's Nansemond River and Lakeland High School.
For the painting, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate that. Slide 5, there was a question I received from a constituent was, it's a new vehicle purchase, 2025 Chevrolet Express Cargo Van, RK Chevrolet. How are those purchases determined? Do we have contracts with certain dealerships, or is it just best price available?
It's usually from auctions, and when things are coming available, sometimes our dealerships also have surplus cars they're trying to get rid of because of new ones that are coming in. We've done this before, Mr. McGee, when it comes to box trucks. Many times that we have had things for food nutritional services that we've ordered, and we're waiting, and then another one has come up in auction, so we end up canceling the order. So it's going to vary, because many times a lot of our vehicles are on back order. Sometimes it's going to be based on when we actually get in line. And Ms. Forsman, Mr. Privet, our purchasing manager, Ms. Bates, are always looking for a better deal.
Appreciate that, sir. And the last one is page 34. And these were for 4 charges for attorney fees with Ying Collins Law. I'm just want to get some information what that was for.
Mr. Waller, I'll let you handle that one, as I believe I know which case that was for.
34, yes, sir.
It's at page 34. What was the line item?
Probably the last 5 items,
Collins.
yes, sir.
For Deb Collins.
That was for that teacher grievance hearing,
Okay.
because as you recall, you preferred for me to be able to advise the board. And so in order for me to do that, I could not also represent the administration in the grievance. And so we contracted with Ian Collins to do that.
I appreciate that, Attorney Waller. Thank you, Dr. Gordon. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion before we vote? There being none, we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
No.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
No.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 2 under new business is an action item regarding Citizen Advisory Committee members update. We've had some citizens, at least one who moved and can no longer serve, and then a couple of other updates that you guys have been able to access and look at since last Thursday. So it's just a matter of updating and making sure our committees are full. So if you guys open that attachment, is there any discussion or a motion regarding making the changes that are recommended on this document?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the changes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion was made to adopt the changes, second by Vice Chair McGee, seconded by Board Member Slinglove. Is there discussion? There being none, we're ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slinglove?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The item number 3 is ordinance 25/26-42. It's an information-only item, but I want to give opportunity, since it's a first read, are there any questions about that before it comes before a vote November 13th? There being no questions, let's look at item number 4. I have listed as a discussion, info action about the CIP, specifically the administrative office. So at this time, I will just yield the floor to Vice Chair McGee since he requested this addition.
I appreciate it, Madam Chair. And the reason why I added this to the discussion and agenda tonight was just a lot of conversations that have taken place outside after our last meeting from citizens regarding the SAO office and everything with the VDOT building. So I was going to ask the superintendent, you know, I'm new to the board. Can you give the history on the offer for the Virginia pilot? What happened with that offer?
Yeah, so thank you for that. And anytime before I answer your question, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, if there's going to ever be anything added to the agenda for any research that staff has to do, if we can kind of get a little heads up on that, so I don't have to kind of like scramble and do some research or find something from the team while we're sitting up here. Mr. McGee, I have no problem doing this because this has been actually going on since 2021. And it's more than just a Virginia pilot building. It actually started with the Human Resources building. That was $6.5 million that the city has set aside to renovate the HR building, currently where voting takes place, to have this central office move into there. We went there on March 29th, 2021 to tour that building. We also toured the Wilroy Road facility on May 17th, 2021. There was some concerns about water quality there, and then as you all know, we actually had to move the money that was going to be appropriated for the renovation of the HR building, the $6.5 million to the John F. Kennedy Middle School project because we didn't have the funds. The city appropriated $53 million, which was used from Hardy Elementary School as an idea in Isle of Wight for a building that cost $75 million. So that's part of the reason why I previously has mentioned that the school division actually got a construction grant from the Virginia Department of Education for $15 million, plus that 6.5 in order to make up the difference so we could rebuild John F. Kennedy. We toured the Virginia Pilot Building on May 13, 2022, approximately a year later. Virginia Pilot Building is in terrible condition. rooftop units. We had several, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of repairs there. There was also concern about a roof being caved in. We also noticed that there were several offices that actually had window units in them. We were also extremely concerned about the lack of parking. The city actually had a 2-year plan to try to redo the parking, and we were concerned that that was not going to allow our visitors nor our staff to have adequate parking there. So again, that was on May 13th, 2022. We also went back to the Human Resources Building on January 27, 2023, because one of the things we noticed that is still currently going on is that the ravine there is actually breaking away from the rest of the parking lot. So there was going to have to be money that was going to have to be done to redo the parking lot there, because we felt that we were going to lose 12 to 18 spaces right in front of that building because the ravine was breaking away. We toured the VDOT building on April 1st, 2025, 1 week before our joint meeting. The city manager took us out there for economic development and to take a look. This was shortly after were told that there was a serious leak in that building. So we only got to tour a part of the building to take a look at it. So, Mr. McGee, to answer your question, this has been over 4-year process of the central office trying to find a different location. And as you know now, there's been concerns with almost every location that we have looked at, still with the pending concern of our lease expiring on December 31st, 2028, and there's still not a plan in place.
I appreciate that. A follow-up for those, were those decisions made by SPS staff or decided on by the school board?
What decisions are you referring to? The touring of the buildings?
No, rejecting the Virginia Pilot Building and the other facility you spoke to. Was that a board decision that those options didn't work, or was it you or your staff's decision that those facilities weren't feasible?
Once we got the cost estimates back, the city actually makes the decisions because they're the ones that actually come up with the amount that's going to be allocated to rebuild. So once they realized that the HVAC equipment was sufficient, we don't even get a choice in that matter. That's something, we don't actually get the keys to the building until substantial completion occurs and the keys are turned over. We didn't even get to the design phase. So anytime there's going to be a decision on any buildings that we're going to move into or that we're interested in, then we will enter the design phase, which is something that will have to come to the board.
Okay. And then my last question, Madam Chair, our current footprint, I think it's average, we're right about 28,000 square foot. And for the new VDOT projected project, if that goes through, we're looking at 39,000 square foot, correct? I want to ask, has there been a study conducted by you or the staff that justifies the need of a larger facility?
Of course. The study is that we have staff at Kings Fork Middle School. We have staff at the Innovation Center. We have staff at CCAP. I think one of the things that Al Moore, when he was the city manager, Kevin Hughes and Jerry Jones, when they walked through our professional building, they noticed that we had 3 and 4 staff members sharing an office. Part of the reason why we had brought to the board the need for the Innovation Center, because remember at that time we had 16 specialists at Booker T. Washington Elementary School that we had to displace. So the additional 12,000 square feet is probably still not enough. It's probably still not enough. When you have a central office with specialists and supports, and that doesn't include the fact that in many cases we also have occupational therapists and physical therapists that probably should actually be housed with us so they can work closer with the special education department. When we've had to spread them out for schools, that kind of goes back to what I discussed previously, Mr. McGee, how our schools have actually been overcrowded since 1989. So the additional from 27,000, that was part of the reason why we were interested in the Human Resources Building. I believe that was actually at 42,000 square feet. 3 floors, 14,000 feet per floor. This building, as you can see, that you just mentioned, is also probably right around in that range. But it's not just about the total square footage of the space. It's going to be about how the space is used. One of the things that we have been really big on and we were actually excited about with the Human Resources Building is that part of our preliminary thoughts was to have our school board meetings there. We were going to have a meeting room space so we wouldn't have to come to our schools. We wouldn't have to worry about scheduling for City Hall. That was something that we had some preliminary discussions with, looking at some of these other projects that were on here as well. So that extra space is something that is past needed, and I'm not even sure if 42,000 square feet would be big enough to do everything that we probably need to do. And
I'm glad you said that, Dr. Gordon. You know, I guess thinking down the future, not just right what's in front of us. I want to make sure before we vote on anything or accept anything, it's going to facilitate, and support our needs. And so we're not looking at building a new facility or doing a addition here 10 years down the road. So, Madam Chair, that's all I have for right now. I was going to see if any other board members had input or wanted to discuss anything.
Anybody else have anything regarding this topic? I just have a quick question. When you toured in April, were you informed then that this would be part of a whole big project? Or I feel like at the April 9th meeting, when we discussed it, and I think Mr. Riddick had originally suggested it, it was the building only. So I'm just wondering, if you toured the building there, were you given the impression that the building alone was an option? Or were they already trying to tie it into a project for a builder?
That's a great question. We were just focused on the building. I wish I could tell you more because
No, that's fine.
our concern was there was just a huge leak that took out 1/3 of the building, and the smell was so bad we were trying to be expeditious in taking our tour. Now, we had heard, just like everyone else, that there was additional developments occurring, but as far as the details that we know now, no, we weren't aware of that.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the board direct the superintendent to prepare and present a consolidated administrative staffing facility utilization report before our meeting with City Council in December, our joint meeting. The report, I would like to see current central office staffing, list of all current administrative positions based on central office, including title, role, department, and reporting structure. I want to see if we can identify how many of those positions are primarily office-based versus working in the field. A list of positions expected to occupy the proposed VDOT facility, including any new or reclassified positions. And can we have a 15-year historical overview of administrative to student ratios and staffing and enrollment trends for SPS?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so the board already has a listing of all the administrators and central office staffing. Ms. Slingleff actually requested that previously. So I think that's a repeat request that we can actually pull back out. For your second part, Mr. McGee, for the report of admin to students, I gotta take some time to kind of clarify some things. So that's gonna always vary every year based on the needs of the school division. That's going to be based on the needs of what we're seeing, not only for growing enrollment, but for example, I'll give you a great example. So when I started here in 2019, we had 2 people in the community engagement. 2 people. We know that wasn't sufficient. So I'm not even sure if I can even go back and take a look at a 15-year overview, because if you look at any organization, including this one that has over 2,300 employees, you're going to see tremendous growth. There is not one position in this school division that we do not need, and as a part of our budget process, when you talk to our 4 chiefs, and we can have an additional discussion about this if you would like at the retreat, we have to tell our building level folks no to several requests all the time because of limited funds. So what we try to do is prioritize what's going to have the greatest impact on schools. So when we're talking about looking at the admin to student ratio, that's going to be completely different. And I can answer one part of your question here right now, Mr. McGee. Everybody that we have in central office is needed and is doing multiple things. And if you compare the size of our central office to other school divisions that are like us or a little bit smaller than us, you will see just how thin and bare bones we are. So because you already have that first part of the report, I'm not sure if I need to do that again if the board votes on that. But the second part is going to be completely subjective in the narrative, because we have had to make some tough decisions where we have actually grown community engagement, we've grown human resources, we've grown special education, and we've grown instruction. Those are the ones that have grown over these 6 years. We have reclassified folks. Because I know this off the top of my head. Dr. Andre Skinner went from coordinator to director. We added an additional coordinator for special education. I added an additional coordinator for human resources. I added a social media specialist, digital specialist to community engagement. Also, allow one of our clerical folks to move with Ms. Dickens to the operations center. The first position I added here in Suffolk Public Schools was a director of curriculum and instruction, because I could not believe that we did not have one. You know, these are the things that have had to take place. We also have had to add English language learner specialists, because that's the part that has grown. So this is one of those conversations that, you know, we can always have without making administrators, you know, think that there's something else that's going on, because if you go back and take a look at my budget presentations for the 6 that I've done, you will see the justification for each position that we've added. And almost all of them directly impact students. We added a coordinator of activities and athletics, formerly Richard Fortune, now Mr. Ronald Kabler. I mean, and you know the reason why, you know, for that. So I would rather have additional conversations that we can potentially have at the retreat in case the board wants to take a look and go back and take a look at our budget presentations for everything that we've had to do, because we saw lacking in services for our students and our staff as we were going through the budget process.
I appreciate that, Dr. Gordon. And I just want to, you know, clarify, I'm not questioning why you do what you do. It's just I want to have that understanding as a board member. I know you guys have day-to-day, but I think this falls in our purview as board members to make sure we have a full understanding of all of our administrators, and not just for budgeting, but again, you know, for this new facility. If we're looking at a building, I want to make sure we're advocating for what you need. We're advocating for 5, 10 years down the road, not just for right now. So I'm willing to, on that item 3, going back 15 years, you know, one thing I constantly hear is our student population hasn't changed in years here in Suffolk. So I'm willing to go back 10 years. Can we look at 10 years of admin to students?
So, Mr. McGee, one of the things, though, the student population has grown. You know, one of the things that I think that, you know, whoever is having these conversations with you needs to understand is, even going back 10 years, our schools were at capacity. And our special education population, when I got here, was 11%. Now they're 15%. So the needs of the kid changes. Our English language learner population was 1%. Now we're like 4%. So that's the part that people don't understand. They're taking a look at the numbers, right? But they're not taking a look at the needs. And so it's always going to be based on the needs of the kid. We've also added a lot more bus drivers for obvious reasons, you know, but you all being able to advocate is always going to be based on a recommendation from me, right? Recommendations from staff. And I have no problem, you know, providing that justification, providing that evidence. No problem doing that, but I already have.
I appreciate that. I want to clarify.
Madam Chair.
Hold on, real fast.
There's a motion on the floor. I don't know if,
There is a motion, but there's,
and it's not been seconded.
okay, you don't have the floor right now, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I want to clarify, Dr. Gordon, you just made a statement, whoever's talking to me. I want to clarify right now that no one's talking to me. This is Sean McGee. These notes I'm reading, this is all me. Again, you know, I'll support you. I have no problem supporting you. But the way I view my role as a board member is I have to answer to the folks who elected me. So I have to be able to explain why I support you. I can't just rubber stamp and get behind you because you tell me to do it. I can't operate like that. So it's not disrespect to you. It's just so I can articulate to the folks who live in my community that I represent why I speak for what I do.
I'm going to interject here, Vice Chair McGee. I don't know about Ms. Gardner and everyone else, I need like a restate of the motion, because I had like 4 pieces and you guys are dialoguing about 2. So if you can go back to your motion, read it again for me, and then we can call for a second once we know what the motion is.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I just request, one of the things that he had in his motion, since he's going to read it, if he's going to amend it before it's seconded, if there's a need with regards to his first request with the staffing, which Dr. Gordon is speaking of that we received last year, if he wanted to make that amended in any way to be updated.
Okay, I need him to get his motion on the floor before there's any further discussion whatsoever.
Madam Chair, I move that the board direct the superintendent to prepare and present a consolidated administrative staffing facility utilization report before our joint meeting with City Council in December. The report requirements are 1.
Pause right there.
Oh, sorry.
Facility utilization,
I can write it, yes, ma'am.
okay, facility utilization report
Before our joint
by
meeting.
December 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, to include, this is where bulleted points would be
Correct.
helpful for my notes.
Our current central office staffing,
Okay. Go ahead.
and under that I had a list of all current administrative positions based at the central office, including title, role, department, and reporting structure.
Okay,
And those who work out of there in the office, and those who might have an office there, but they're field-based.
okay, office versus field-based.
Then 2 was a list of positions expected to occupy the proposed VDOT facility, including any new or reclassified positions.
Okay, so. VDOT, what, I don't want to speak for him. There's a
And-
motion on the floor, so first of all, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now there's a second on the floor.
Madam
Discussion.
Chair, I didn't finish my third
Oh,
bullet.
you didn't?
No,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry.
And the last one was to provide, and I'll amend this to a 10-year historical and comparative data overview of administrative to student ratios, staffing, and enrollment trends for SPS.
Okay. And
Second.
second, all right. Obviously, it would be helpful for Ms. Gardner if you just give that to her in writing. I think all of us. Okay, 10-year historical data, student to staff. It's been seconded. Now, is there discussion?
I just have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Did you say this is going to be discussed at the joint meeting with City Council or at our retreat?
I said prior to the joint meeting,
Oh,
so I
okay.
think if we could get it by the November, is it the 17th or 13th, November 13th meeting?
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would
Yeah.
just like to ask Mr. McGee if he is saying just prior to our joint meeting or prior to by the 13th, because there's a big span between those dates.
And I'm flexible on that. I just want that information prior to us sitting down before City Council and articulating anything that we need to articulate regarding our needs as a board for our SAO office. So I would like it at least a week prior to this joint meeting with City Council on the 3rd of December.
Any further discussion?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Given the complexity of what we're faced with now in our school calendar, what would be the impact of fulfilling such report on our staff? Because we were talking about efficiency earlier, and I just want to make sure that we're efficient.
I'm going to have to yield the floor to Dr. Gordon to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some clarity that I'm going to need, like 10-year historical data of student to staff. So are you looking for, Mr. McGee, admin, total number of admin as compared to the total number of students?
Yes, sir. And when I say admin, it's admin that sits at the SAO office and the ones who can't sit at the SAO office right now because there's not enough real estate.
So, Mr. Riddick, to answer your question, that's going to be the one that's going to take time And I don't know that information because I have to talk to Human Resources and Budget and Finance and see if they can pull it.
Mr. Riddick, did that answer your question somewhat?
It let me know that it's an uncertainty as far as how much it's going to be, so I accept that as the answer, that is to be determined.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is it possible for Vice Chair McGee to add to his motion the request to have it a week before our joint city council meeting, no later than a week before our joint city council meeting, so it's in the motion?
Vice Chair McGee, are you willing to amend the
with that.
motion with a specific date, the week before December 3rd, which would be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, just FYI?
Yes, I'm willing to amend it to add that. I have no problem with that.
Okay, you got it? Oh, okay, I apologize. Okay, any other discussion, questions, feedback? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, basically in short summary for a report regarding our current SAO staffing, those of which who are office versus field. I just want to clarify this list of positions expected to be in the VDOT building. I think from what I'm hearing, he wants to know, are you anticipating any growth so that we don't find ourselves crowded again, I guess. I know that, that's hard to answer. And then the 10-year historical data, students versus SAO staff, or staff that should be in SAO plus the ones that are. Dr. Gordon?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be our plan that whenever we do move out of the professional building, that everybody will be at one place. That's the goal. That's been the goal.
Sure. Is
Yeah.
there going to be, are we somehow, if we even find a building, going to plan like buffer that, like additional positions that could come on wouldn't then be sent out into a school building? Like, are we going to have margin, I guess I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, so, that's part of the reason why it was so important for us to build the Innovation Center, so that not only does it hold in those 16 specialists, but if there was someone else related in teaching and learning, they could potentially go there.
Got it.
But I won't be able to answer any of that until we take a look at what our needs are once we've gotten all the budget requests from all of our schools and departments, and I will present that to you all on February 26th.
Understood. Any other questions before there's a vote on the motion to request this report? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't see your mic.
it's okay. My question is it the board will to just receive the information, or is it the will of the board to receive the information along with the presentation? The reason why I'm asking that is because you can get the information but don't understand what you're reading and draw a conclusion that may not be exactly what the author of the report was trying to get us to go and understand. And I understand that's receiving it a week before it give us time to ask questions. But how can we ensure that the public get the information as well?
Vice Chair McGee, do you have a response to?
Madam Chair, I do not. I guess it's going to put, more of a constraint on the superintendent and his staff to have it before our November 13th meeting, unless we want to add an additional meeting in November.
We cannot.
Okay. The only other thing, I could suggest is we set up some 2x2s, maybe where the superintendent can present it to board members without violating FOIA, and we can share it, do whatever social media output you have or post it somewhere. That's the only suggestion. I know we're working on a time crunch, but we have until the 3rd of December before our joint meeting.
Madam Chair, yeah, I'd just rather just go ahead and have this share it with you all at the November 13th meeting, and if there's questions, we'll just address it then.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
With that, okay, any further questions? Okay, there being none, it seems we're now ready to vote.
Board members, please vote. Board Member Dr. Brittingham?
Yes.
Board Member Fields?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Board Member Jenkins?
Yes.
Board Member Riddick?
Yes.
Board Member Slingla?
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee?
Yes.
Board Chair Howell?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The final item under new business was added at the request of Mr. Riddick, a discussion on info action of the RFP for audit. And so at this time, I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Riddick.
Yes. Madam Chair, to date, the school board has received 32 follow-up questions since we have put out our RFP. A poll went out about having the chair and vice chair entertain and answer those questions. I would like to submit to the board that anything regarding questions of the RFP or from potential vendors or what have you through the process goes through the Finance Committee. There's a committee already in place of which the chair is a member of, and in her absence, the vice chair serves as her backup, that it goes through the Finance Committee. That way, we can keep things in the way that we were meant to operate, where finance and stuff is discussed within the committee. That would be my motion to the board, that we allow all RFP audit questions and review to go through the Finance Committee.
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
Okay, so the motion was made to allow all RFP questions from vendors to go through the Finance Committee, and it was seconded by Vice Chair McGee. Questions or discussion?
Madam Chair, I do. I have one for Attorney Waller and Dr. Gordon, whoever can answer this. Regarding this RFP and this deadline, what constraints are we under legally to provide answers to vendors without tainting this RFP?
Right now, the closing date for questions from potential vendors will be October the 27th. And answers will need to be provided to them by the close of October 27th. The answers to the questions will need to be posted by October the 28th. And that will give them 7 days in which to entertain your responses to questions and submit their request to your RFP. If you don't make those benchmark dates, you will probably need to push the response date of the RFP back, because you will not have enough time, the vendors will not have enough time to consider your responses and provide you with an RFP.
So I guess, Madam Chair, Mr. Riddick did speak about the poll and the chair and the vice chair answering these questions Monday. Is it feasible for the Finance Committee to meet sometime Monday afternoon so we can make this deadline?
Mr. Riddick.
My question, and I apologize to answer a question with a question. I know that's not orthodox, but to gain clarity here, I need to. Have you and the chair already got together to answer these questions?
No, we haven't had a single text, phone call, or face-to-face meeting regarding
and
this.
The reason why I asked that, because today is the 23rd, tomorrow's the 24th, and we have the weekend and we have Monday, our deadline. So either way, we would have to push it back, unless you two could get together sooner to have an answer by close of business Monday. Because with the Finance Committee, that's 3 individual schedules plus staff versus just you two. I didn't know that was the deadline so soon.
So if I may just clarify, we are scheduled to sit down with Mrs. Bates at 3:30 on Monday and go over answers with her so that she will have them by close of business on the 27th and then able to post by close of business on the 28th. I don't have a problem at all with kicking this to the Finance Committee. My only concern is, as of right now, she has to have the answers by Monday. And even if we schedule tonight a Finance Committee meeting for Monday with her, we're outside of the legal regulation to post a
Right.
finance meeting. FOIA is 3 days in advance. We've always been judicious and done it 7 days. Either way, we're violating that. So, I mean, our intent when asked if we could do this, our only communication was, can you sit down Monday and go over this? He said yes. I emailed to Dr. Gordon and Ms. Gardner that we are good Monday at 3:30 and that we both have time in advance to go over the questions before we sit down with Ms. Bates, so we have somewhat of an idea. So I'm not sure what is the best thing to do, because I don't oppose a finance committee, but I already know we're under a time constraint.
So for the sake of time, I don't mind withdrawing the motion to have the finance committee take it on, and the reason being, we don't, unless the board, it's the will of the board to push back the response, and everyone is okay with that. I think it would be more prudent to just move forward with you all meeting on Monday at 3.
Okay? So you're withdrawing your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Is there, I guess, any further discussion on this topic? Yes, ma'am.
I know we discussed that once you and Vice Chair come up with your answers or whatever, the board would get a chance to see that.
Yes,
So,
that's my intent after Ms. Bates.
because I'm just thinking about the time. If you're meeting at, 3, and it has to be done by the close of business day.
Our answers have to be provided to her. She
Right.
has to provide them to the public the next day.
Okay, okay.
So,
I just want to make sure that won't put you in a bind.
so my question to follow up on what I guess you're asking, would it be possible for Ms. Bates to push out to the full board the answers that we've crafted together Monday at our 3:30 meeting, so that they can see them before they're publicly posted?
I think it's all going to depend on what answers you all give her, because some things we can do that. It wouldn't come from Ms. Bates. It would come from Ms. Gardner. So we can have Ms. Bates share that with Ms. Gardner at the conclusion of your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
So
do
as
that.
long as we get the response documented to Ms. Gardner, I would say by 4:30, then she can push it out to the full board. Is that reasonable?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I know we set that time due to my schedule, but if it helps, and I know Dr. Gordon, I have to check with Ms. Bates, but I'm willing to come in at first thing in the morning just to give some more time and allow board members to have time for any concerns or questions.
Yeah, I'll have to check with her tomorrow morning and let you know.
Okay. If
Thank
it'd be helpful, I'll just send an email reminder tonight. I do have an appointment first thing Monday morning at 9, but I'm available, I would say 10:30 or later. So I'll shoot you an email that says that, and then that would give everybody more time to produce a document that can be shared with the board before the public. Okay, any other questions or discussion about this? Okay, if you look at the bottom of your agenda, there are some information items for you: a capital projects financial statement, that's an update, financial report from September 30th, 2025, the pharmacy update for October 2025, and then from WHRO, their annual impact statement was provided to us, I believe, last week, and it's uploaded here as an information item for everyone's review, just an overall view of what they provide for us, and kind of an ROI, to borrow Mr. Riddick's favorite acronym. At this time, there's no further business, so this meeting is adjourned.